I've been using code generators for 15 years. Scaffolding tools, ORM spitting out boilerplate, the IDE finishing the obvious line for me. AI is that, turned up to 1,000. It'll template a whole architecture in seconds. But notice what I just called it, a generator. Not a colleague, not an oracle, not a junior dev with judgment. The day you start treating its output like a coworker's reviewed work instead of a generator's first draft, that's the day the trouble starts. I'm John. This is The Thinking Engineer, one channel with a simple thesis. AI can write the code now, but somebody still has to understand it. That somebody is the job that isn't going away. Before I go any further, I owe you a quick apology. I disappeared for a few weeks because I started a new role, and I wanted to give my new team my complete focus while I got my bearings. Episode 3 was about how to understand a codebase you didn't write, and I've spent those weeks putting my own advice into practice across a few new codebases. I'm glad to be back. Episode 1 was the developer who shipped code he couldn't explain. Episode 2 was why the tool doesn't fix that on its own. Episode 3 was how you actually get your arms around code you didn't write. This one goes underneath all of it, to the thing that quietly decides whether AI makes you better or makes you dependent, what the tool actually is. Because I think most of the trouble people get into with these tools starts with one small category error. Somewhere along the way, we started calling it a coworker. And before we get into it, I want a very specific story from you in the comments today. I'll tell you exactly which one at the end, so stick around. We've started talking about AI like it's the new hire. Ask the AI. Let the AI handle it. The AI thinks we should refactor this. I catch myself doing it too, so this isn't me scolding anybody from a hill. But I want to be fair before I'm firm, because the fairness is the whole point. I use these tools every single day, and they've made me faster than I've ever been in 15 years of doing this. That's not a grudging admission I'm trying to sneak past you. It's the truth, and it's the reason I can say the next part without it sounding like fear. There's no one in there. Here's the accurate description, and I'd ask you to actually sit with it for a second, because everything else in this video hangs on it. AI is not actual intelligence. At its core, it is a prediction engine. When it writes code for you, it's not reasoning about your domain or your users or the bug you filed last Tuesday. It is predicting the next likely token and then the one after that, drawn from a staggering amount of code it has already seen. And it is astonishingly good at it. So good that the output looks like thought. And that's the trap right there. It looks like thought because it was assembled from the patterns of thousands of people who were actually thinking. But the thinking isn't happening in the room with you. You're looking at the shadow of a lot of smart decisions, not a smart decision being made on your behalf. And this is exactly why the code generation framing has kept me sane. I've leaned on generators my whole career. A scaffolding command stamps out a controller and a migration. An ORM turns an object into a table without me handwriting the SQL. None of those tools understood my business, and I never expected them to. They produced, I decided. What changed with AI is the degree, not the kind. The generator got powerful enough to template a whole architecture, write the tests, and explain itself in a confident paragraph. And somewhere in that leap, a lot of us quietly promoted it from tool to teammate. Same category of thing, wildly different manners. So let me be precise about why the misnaming costs you something real, because it isn't about manners. A generator has no stake in what it made. It can't. It will hand you a beautiful, confident, completely wrong function with exactly the same energy it hands you a correct one. Because to the model, there is no difference between the two. Both were just as likely. When a coworker hands you reviewed work, you're getting something the generator can never include in the package. A person who felt a flicker of doubt and chased it down, who can tell you why they chose this approach and not the other one, who will be standing next to you when it breaks in production. That doubt, that ownership, That why. That's not decoration on top for the code. For anything that matters, it's the most important part of the delivery. And the generator ships everything except that. I'll give you the specific flavor that gets you, because it's gotten me, and it's gotten just about everyone I know who works this way. I asked for a piece of logic, something with a little bit of edge case math in it. The AI produced it in seconds. It was clean. It read well. The tests I had passed, all green, and I'll admit the green check marks did half of my thinking for me that afternoon. I moved on. It was a couple of days later, looking at that number that was just slightly off. Then I went back and actually read the thing line by line, the way episode 3 is all about. The generator had made a confident, reasonable-looking assumption about how a boundary case should behave, and it was wrong. Not broken loud wrong, the kind that throws an error and saves you. Quiet wrong, the most expensive kind. Now here's the part I want to be honest about. That wasn't the AI's failure. The AI did exactly what a generator does. It generated. The failure was mine. In that little half second where I treated its first draft like a coworker's reviewed work and let the looks like thought stand in for actual thought. The tool didn't lie to me. I just forgot what it was. So how do you actually work with this thing, now that there's no one in there to delegate your judgment to? Well, you treat the output as exactly what it is, a first draft from a very fast, very well-read generator. You bring the specification because it doesn't know what you actually want, only what's likely. You bring the review because it has no doubt to offer you, so the doubt has to be yours. And you bring the understanding every time because the moment nobody in the loop understands the code, you've created episode 1 with extra steps and a bigger blast radius. That's not a downgrade of the tool. It's the tool used correctly. You direct, it builds. You keep the judgment, it keeps the typing. And used on those terms, honestly, it's the best generator any of us has ever had a chance to hold. So here's the story I want from you in the comments, and I genuinely want it. What's the most confident wrong thing AI has ever generated for you? The bug that looked completely right, or the function that passed every test and still ruined your afternoon? The time it lied to you with a perfectly straight face. Tell me how you caught it, or how you didn't, because those stories are the cheapest tuition the rest of us will ever get. If this one clarified something, if you're going to stop saying the AI thinks and start saying the generator produced, hit like. It really does help the right people find this channel. Subscribe and you'll be here for the next one, where we get into why explaining code is quietly becoming a more valuable skill than writing it. It's a generator, a wildly good one. You're the engineer. Keep those two things straight and the tool is a gift. Forget which one is which and it'll burn you with a smile. Always think before you commit and push.